Hello and welcome to the November 2015 Gaming PC Builds of the Month here at Noob Computer Build. My name is Corey. Here we are again with the 3 builds of the month. This month's pretty exciting usually because you can get some good deals on hardware with Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals, which come later in the month. But let's get started with the 3 builds that we usually do here, which are the $1,500, $1,000, and $600 builds. And we'll start with the $1,500 build. I also have a third one that kind of coincides with the $1,000 build with a video that I did last month, not too long ago, building a similar build to the $1,000 build if you want to check that out. Alright, let's get started with the $1,500 gaming PC build of the month for November 2015. This build comes out to a total $1,439, so it is way under budget this month, which gives you a little breathing room if you want to spend a little less or if you want a little room for upgrades, which I will get to in the hardware alternatives table below this build. But without further ado, the processor we have is a Skylake Core i5-6600K processor for $254.99 right now. The cooler is the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, which is $28.99. You'll need this cooler because the Skylake processors do not come with a stock cooler. The motherboard, we have the same as last month, which is the Gigabyte Z170 GA Z170X Gaming 3 motherboard, $152.99. This does support SLI and Crossfire, which gives you support for two either NVIDIA or AMD graphics cards. For the graphics card, we have a PNY GeForce GTX 980 Ti. This has gone down in price this month to $626.99, so quite a good purchase this month if you were looking to go with that. RAM, we have 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance DDR4 for $96.99. I do not include a regular hard drive in this, but if you want more or an HDD hard drive instead of an SSD because of cost, but this month I could have squeezed it into the budget, but I'll leave that up to you if you want more room. But what I do include is an SSD, a Samsung 850 EVO that you see here for 250 gigabytes for $96.29. For a power supply, we have the EVGA Supernova 750 G2 750 watts, $108.52. It's a very good fully modular power supply. However, I do want to mention that if you want to go SLI or Crossfire, you're probably in this case SLI, if you want to go with two of the 980 Ti's, you might want to go with a minimum of 850 watts. So just note that if you want to plan for that in the future. And for the computer case, we have a Silverstone Tech computer case that you see here. It's the windowed version for $69.99. And as well, I do not include an optical drive, since generally I find that myself and individuals don't use them too much nowadays anyhow. If you want to spend the extra $20, you can get it. Otherwise, just install your OS via USB or an external hard drive. Now moving on to the alternatives for the $1,500 build. So if you want to go with an i7, you can do that, such as an i7-6700K. It's also unlocked, so easily overclockable for those that do more than gaming perhaps, and that'll set you back $414. You can SLI with another PNY GeForce GTX 980 Ti. Again, you'll need to spend another $626.99, as well probably get a minimum wattage power supply such as this EVGA Supernova Supernova 850 watt PSU, which is about $120. You can also switch the cooler for a liquid cooler, such as the Corsair Hydro Series H100i GTX, $115.10. Or if you want to boost up to more space in just an SSD, this is a very, very fast SSD. It's also a 1TB version of the SanDisk Extreme Pro, which is $384.43. Now moving on to the $1,000 gaming PC build of the month. We have for $985, so this one is under budget as well, which gives you a little breathing room. The processor, the i5-6600K, $254.99. The cooler we have is the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, same as the $1,500 build, $28.99. The motherboard is where we differ here. We have Asus Z170K for $138.49. This, however, does not provide support for SLI, but it does provide Crossfire support, so you could put in two AMD cards if you wanted in the future, or right now if you wanted. Graphics cards, I have the same split as last month. It's up to you what you want. So the first recommendation here is the EVGA GeForce GTX 970 for $319.99, or alternatively the Gigabyte R9 graphics card for $319.99. So the same price, they perform similarly. The R9 390 gets a little hotter because it uses a little more power. It has a little more VRAM. So I'll leave it up to you. Search or benchmarks for games that you want to play the most, and then kind of go with that. I will leave this up to you should you decide to go with this build. RAM, Crucial Ballistic Sport, 8GB kit of DDR4, $52.99, a 1TB Seagate hard drive. No SSD in this build, but there is some in the alternatives below should you want to go with that. Power supply, EVGA Supernova 650 G1, $79.99. And then the computer case, we have the Antec 302 for $59.99. This comes out to $984.93. And like I said, with the $1,500 build, I don't include an optical drive in the base build as well, but you could spend around $20 and get one if you wanted. And now moving on to the alternatives for the $1,000 build. You could add an SSD, because one isn't included, but for $117.80 you can get a quality fast SanDisk Extreme Pro for 240GB SSD. You can crossfire if you wanted. That's only if you went with the R9 390, so buying another one of those for another $320. But then again, I do recommend upgrading the power supply to at least an 850 watt power supply. And then if you want more hard drive space, it's not too much more to go with a 2TB version of the Seagate HDD for $71.99. Or if you want a liquid CPU cooler, gives you more of a customized, quieter cooling experience. Of course, our Hydro Series H80 GT is a good cooler as well, and that comes out at $89.99. And also for the $1,000 build, I want to mention a build that I put together last month that is very similar to the $1,000 build. However, it's a micro ATX build, and you can see that here on the site if you want to visit. It's right here. You can see this. I also have a video for it. I'll link it here as well. But it's a Skylake micro ATX gaming PC build, should you be interested in that. Alright, moving on to the $600 gaming PC build for November 2015. Processor, AMD FX 8320, $144.99. Motherboard, Asus M5A97 AM3 Plus motherboard, $79.99. For the graphics card, we have the EVGA GTX 950, 2GB version, $159.99. RAM, we have DDR3 RAM and 8GB kit of Crucial Ballistic Sport XT, super cheap this month for $34.99. Hard drive, Seagate 1TB hard drive for $50.49. The power supply, we have an EVGA 600B1. It's in a 600 watt power supply for $59.99. And the computer case we have is this BitPhoenix one, a slightly different BitPhoenix case than last month, but this BitPhoenix Neos here for $49.99. And like the other two builds, I do not include an optical drive, but I'll leave that up to you. It'll cost you about $20. And this build comes out to $579.28 right now. And if you wanted some upgrade ideas, should you have a little more to spend, or upgrade ideas for the future, you can go the liquid CPU cooler, such as this Corsair Hydro Series H55, $69.86. Better graphics card, which is a slightly better performing card. This Radeon R9 380 XFX version, $189.99. And if you want a better motherboard, this is quite a good AM3 Plus motherboard. This MSI 990 FXA gaming motherboard, $134.99. And then if you want an SSD, this is an affordable version, a Samsung 850 EVO, 250GB SSD for $96.08. And that does it for the builds this month. I would like to invite you, all the hardware is in the description below. I'd like to invite you to the site, noobcomputerbuild.com, also linked in the description below. And as well, if you're curious about some peripheral suggestions for these builds, since they are not included, and that means monitors, mice, keyboards, and more for kind of generalized 3 categories as well. These are linked on the site as well. So I'd like to invite you to check those out. Alright, and until next month, best of luck building.